evening, everyone. Welcome to NLTV Season 3, Episode 8. Now, today is a very, very special day because our kids were where they belong, in school.
Yes.
Finally, after many, many months. And I even got to speak to my wife today, which was a lovely experience.
Yes, absolutely. Well, you know, it's very apropos because today was International Women's Day.
Oh, well, I've been speaking to a local woman. My wife.
Your wife, that's right. Absolutely. Kids are back in school. We had some time to breathe a little bit. No more Zoom. There was a lot of Zoom. So
yeah, it's been a long run for many, many parents, and finally they were back. I don't want to break it to anyone, you know, that in 2 weeks' time they will be breaking up again.
Exactly. So it's great. I can't believe Pesach is around the corner.
It's come around really quickly. It's Pesach already, but last Pesach does seem like a long time ago. It's like very weird. We've lost a sense of time during this lockdown. But good times ahead, please God.
Right. And we'll talk more about Pesach next week, all the upcoming events. But tonight we speak to our local HSS member, Ronit Shapiro, who created a special film, and I thought it was great, very apropos for International Women's Day to speak to her about the film, Sisters of the Wilderness. So let's go over to Ronit. Welcome, Ronit Shapiro, to NLTV. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
The International Women's Day. And I know we met when we first arrived in the Meet the Friedmans. You had a movie called Sister of the Wilderness, a documentary that really speaks to a part of women. And I thought, you know, can you tell us a little bit about what the project is, how you got involved in it, and specifically the connection to commemorate the International Women's Day?
Sister of the Wilderness is actually the second feature film project that I was working on. I started with a film about two men, ended up with a film about women. My life are full of meaningful coincidences. And I happened to work for the South African Tourist Board as a marketing manager. This was in 2005, I think. Wow. Yeah, 2005. And after I left there, I was freelancing, marketing freelancer, and I was offered to organize an event at the Royal Geographical Society for the Wilderness Foundation. The Wilderness Foundation was founded by Dr. Ian Player, South African, and together with Sir Lawrence van der Post, they founded the UK branch of the Wilderness Foundation.
Okay.
So the event was with Dr. Player as the keynote speaker, and Adrian Gardiner from the Mantis Collection. The South Africans would probably know the Mantis Collection, and Virginia McKenna from Board Free. So I organized this event, but I never met Dr. Player until the moment he came to the UK to speak.
Wow.
And then I heard him, and I was pregnant with Abigail, my daughter. She's now nearly 15. So that's many years ago. And after the event, I said, wow, I really need to learn more about what Dr. Ian Player did in his life. And then I read one of his books. He was also a writer. So I read the book Zulu Wilderness, Shadow and Soul. So it's not just a book about conservation and chasing poachers, because he was a game ranger. It has a lot of shadow and soul. I immediately connected to the book, and that's the first film I wanted to make that didn't happen. It wasn't the right time. Dr. Player really wanted me to do it. We worked on it together for 5 years.
Wow.
And he passed away, and his nephew took over the intellectual property rights and didn't want to continue. I said, okay, I'm going to do Sister of the Wilderness. It's just one step away from Zulu Wilderness, Shadow and Soul. It's in the same setting. It's about the legacy of Dr. Player and his Zulu friend Makubu Ntombela. Their legacy, I couldn't tell their story, the two men story, but their legacy in the film, and Dr. Player's name is mentioned in the film, and everything that the audience see in the film is the wilderness trail that Dr. Player and Makubu created in 1957. They did the first trail in northern KwaZulu-Natal, and since then the Wilderness Leadership School in Durban is taking people to the wilderness in this format. So Sister of the Wilderness, officially, I started it in 2016, and I decided I want to make a film about women because I wanted to give a voice to women, especially women that come from very difficult background and went through many traumas in their lives. The film is set in South Africa, and the women are from townships, so coming from deep poverty and, as I said, difficult things in their life, single household families. So they came with their challenges and with the burden on their shoulders. And we stepped into the wilderness.
What was the purpose in creating this film?
So it's a film, and it's an entertaining film, but it also have social impact goals. So I created it from the start. That's the reason I decided to become a filmmaker, is because I want to use film to make a difference, social and environmental difference. Mm-hmm. So in this particular project, the goals are: one, to reconnect the audience to nature, reconnect people to nature, and raise awareness to the value of nature to our well-being. The other goal is to empower and inspire young women, especially women from disadvantaged backgrounds. Actually, the film could talk to women of all ages and all creeds, and also men. Men, you know, men came out of the film with tears in their eyes, and wow. Yeah, and felt it. Not everyone. Some people really come with many questions because there are no solutions. The solutions, it's open. It's open because there are many issues in the film. There are many things that's happening, and no one can say exactly how things will unfold. The ending is very emotional, but you can feel the change. You can see the light. You can see that the women are on the way to a new opening, a new life. As one of them said, I came to the wilderness to heal, and I'm leaving my past behind. I let the river take my sorrows, my pain. It's just the beginning of a journey. You know, it gives you an opportunity to look at the world and things that happen to you in a different way. So it's not the end of the journey, it's the beginning of the journey, and they still go through many, many, many struggles. We all go through ups and downs, and the film won a big award. It won the best South African feature film at the Durban Film Festival, Durban International Film Festival, and also qualified for an Oscar consideration. So the main story is really the women and the journey, and the impact of nature on us, the healing effect of nature. Not just the healing effect, but particularly in that film, it was all about their healing. But it's also about self-confidence and leadership development and bringing people together from different backgrounds, and the bond that is created by being in nature without any other things. It's just us, you know, there are no masks, okay, nothing. And the other strands are interweaved into the main story of the women's journey. So it's a very subtle message. It's not an issue film. You don't see dead rhinos like you see in issue films about rhinos. You see the minds, but the way the director and the editor combine it beautifully. So it moves from the women talking about their abuse at home or in the community, because some of them went through physical, sexual abuse, emotional. So there is their story, they're talking between themselves, and then you go to a different frame and you see what happens to the mind. So you see there is a play between, you know, the abuse that women suffer and the abuse that Mother Nature. So this Mother Nature and women, this is another theme that if someone wants to go and do this trail, it's possible.
Okay, well, wonderful. Well, thank you very much for really amazing insight on this film. We'll see a clip of it here, you know, next to just give a little glimpse of what we're talking about. Say after post-corona that maybe we can actually feature it in the show if people are interested to see the full film. After corona, a lot of people are connecting to nature, are connecting within themselves. It gave people an opportunity to really reassess their lives. And so I think it's probably very apropos. People might really feel connected to it.
if people want to know more about the project, they can go to the website, sistersofthewilderness.com.
Right.
And another kind of request, because I still continue with the social impact project. So trying to take taking the film to rural communities in Southern Africa, not just South Africa, but other countries, Zimbabwe and Mali and Zambia, and screening it at rural communities to young people, women and men, and having a discussion after the film. So that's, this requires resources, financial and manpower on the ground. So I'm doing that. And then the ongoing expenses of, just maintaining everything to do with website and communication and, keeping the campaign on. So, if people watch the film and they feel inspired, or if someone heard me now and feel inspired, you can go to the website. There is a PayPal link, or they can contact me, and there are other ways to donate, or even not financially, even in other means. So if
anybody's interested, absolutely. Thank you for that. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.
Walking through now is quite dangerous. Tall reeds, so stay very close together, okay? That's why I'm here. I'm going to relieve all the pain. Please, cannot be supporting me. So I think I'm going to be healed by coming here.
It's all about connecting, with the nature. It's a very spiritual, different realm.
Oh, we could do a showing in the shul when that becomes allowed. That would be nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm sure Martin wants to bring back his film. What do you call it?
Film club.
It's film club. That's right. Absolutely. What else is coming up is the census, right? I'm sure I've got mine in the mail. I don't know if you received your.
I've got mine. It said you were obligated by law to respond, which will do.
That's right. So Rabbi Freeman speaks to Jonathan Boyd about the importance of submitting the forms.
Dr. Jonathan Boyd, welcome to Norrisley TV.
Thank you so much. Lovely to be here.
It's wonderful to have you here. You're here because we have a census upcoming, and you've been working hard for the community, heading up the Institute for JPR, Jewish Policy Research. Tell us a little about what JPR does.
So JPR is an independent research institute that basically specializes in studying Jewish populations here in the UK, across Europe, and generating data to support community planning. So we exist really just to do some sort of sociological demographic research work that supports the community here and across Europe in all sorts of different ways. And actually, the census is one of the key data sets we use to do that work. So this is a good opportunity to sort of kind of showcase our work in many respects.
Okay, excellent. Well, tell us, I know at the moment you're in the midst of a campaign to ensure that people do respond to the census and that we let the government know that we are Jewish. Why is that important?
Well, I think probably the easiest way to explain it is to share a PowerPoint. So, if it's okay, I'm going to share some slides, and then we can and then I can answer your question in that way. Let me just I can't share my screen at the moment. I don't know why. You know,
okay, try again now.
You make me a co-host, I think. There we go. Okay, perfect. So let's just do this. So I hope you can see this. Let me just put it up big. There we go. So in the census, and the reason why the census I think is so interesting from a Jewish perspective is it includes this question. We call it the religion question. It's a very simple question. It just asks, what's your religion? You can see there are lots of different options there, and there is a Jewish tick box. The question is voluntary. You don't have to answer it. But part of what we want to say to people today is it's really, really important to tick it, and I'll explain why. Most people sort of tend to think that all this really gives us is how many Jews live in Britain. But I want to explain to you that it gives us so much more. So this question was included for the first time in 2001, 20 years ago. And in that year, just under 260,000 Jews in England and Wales ticked the box. Across the UK, it was 266,000. In 2011, at the last census, it was 263,000 in England and Wales, 271,000 across the UK. So that gives us a sense of the Jewish population, but of course the question's voluntary, so some Jews don't tick it, but it gives us a sense. But what's really important is what we can do with the data is we can isolate all those people who tick Jewish and then look at how they answer all the other questions on the census form. So it tells us about, you know, where Jews live, how old they are, what's the age structure of the Jewish population, how healthy or unhealthy they are, their living standards, who lives in Jewish households, who Jews are partnered with, married to, their ethnic background, their country of birth, what passports they hold, what educational levels they've attained, their working status, etc. All of that information kind of comes from this. And you know, before 2001, the first time this question was included, we really had no good quality data on this at all. Since 2001, it's just created really, really extraordinary information. And I'm talking to Norris Lee Shaw, so let me focus in on the borough of Barnet, because, you know, this is your local area. So in 2001, just for example, we found that there were 46,000 Jews living in Barnet. By 2011, that had grown to 54,000. That's an increase of 7,000, a 15.8% population growth period over that 10-year period. So that just gives us kind of a snapshot of what's happened over time in terms of Barnet. But again, that just really scratches the surface, because here's a map of Jewish Barnet. I've broken it down here into wards. There are 21 wards, and we can see how many Jews live in each ward. We can go into more granular detail too. The census data allows us to look at what's called super output area mid-level. So now Barnet's divided up into 41 different areas. And again, we can see how many Jews live in each of these areas. We can go a level deeper further. So now Barnet's divided up into 211 different areas. And again, we can see how many Jews live in each of these. And actually we can go down to this level of granularity. It's called output area level. Barnet's now divided up into 1,047 little tiny areas. This is just a handful of streets really in each one. And you can see very clearly, you know, how many Jews live in particular areas. And there you can see, you know, the Jewish population of Hampstead Garden suburb and Golders Green and Hendon and Finchley, and out to the sort of northwest, Mill Hill and Edgware. So we get this very, very granular, detailed information about what the Jewish population looks like geographically, for example. And we can create larger maps. We can pan out. This is London and northwest London, and out to the east of London, Redbridge and Epping Forest. You can see the sort of large Jewish populations in Barnet and in Hertsmere and sort of Bushey and Elstree and Boreham Wood. You can also see Hackney. There's the Haredi community there in Stamford Hill. And of course, with 2001 and 2011 data together, we can start looking at where the population's growing or declining. So the areas shaded in red here are where we see Jewish population decline, in blue population growth over that 10-year period. The darker the shade, the more the growth or the decline. So even though the total Jewish population has remained pretty steady, or remained pretty steady between 2001 and 2011, when we look at it at a much more localized level, you can see a lot of churn, a lot of change, areas of Jewish growth, areas of Jewish decline. And just to give you an example of how this sort of data can be used communally, this is from a piece of work that we did for Stanmore Shul, actually a few years ago. You can see Stanmore Shul marked on the map in the middle. There's a little box there with a Magen David at the top of it. And what we've done basically is use census data to show them how many Jews live within half a mile, a mile and a half of their front door, data that they've used to kind of think about their planning. And of course, this is just numbers, but census data allow us to tell them, for example, not just how many Jews, but how old are those Jews, how healthy are those Jews, how wealthy or not are those Jews, etc. So it gives us a really important picture of the Jewish population in any geographical area. And
very powerful.
Yeah, and you know, and that's I mean, I've just shared with you some geographical data already, but this is from a piece of work we did for Jewish Care. This is how many Jews age 65 plus are in the Jewish population of England and Wales. And you can see if you look at the columns, you can see that population age 65 plus is going to grow from 2011 up to 2031, and then it starts to level off, decline slightly. But what's really important for an organization like Jewish Care is if you look at the dotted line of 85 plus year olds, and look at how the Jewish population that is 85 plus is going to evolve and change over time, you can see that it declined quite significantly between 2011 and 2016. Right now in 2021, it's pretty stable. But looking ahead to beyond 2026 and to 2031, 2036, you can see it's going to grow. So for an organization like Jewish Care that's trying to plan for elderly care needs going forward, we know from census data that there are going to be more elderly people in the Jewish population that are going to need support and care. So, you know, and knowing that, you know, well in advance is really important from a planning perspective. This is just, again, I'm almost done, but just to give you another couple of examples, this is a piece of work that we've done recently for Jewish Blind and Disabled. This is about, you know, focusing on the area around Bushy, and it's looking at how many Jews there are who have limiting health conditions in the area. So they're thinking about their planning and the provision of different facilities. This gives them a sense of the real numbers of Jews that you know that might need their care. And this is another piece of work that we're doing about housing. There's a Jewish Housing Association we're working with that's trying to build low-income housing, low-cost housing units for low-income Jewish families in Jewish areas. As part of their planning work, we produced this map for them, which shows you know, this is where the Jewish population lives. We've superimposed different Jewish facilities and organizations onto the map so that you really get a proper sense of this is where the Jewish community infrastructure is. And if low-income Jewish families want to live in close proximity to Jewish life, then they need to be able to live in these areas. Yeah. So the last point very quickly is that the other thing to say is that any credible survey that's done of Jews in this country draws on census data. We need census data in order to be able to do work. So when we've done work on, you know, whether it's attitudes to Israel or work that we've done for the European Union on Jewish people's perceptions and experiences of anti-Semitism, or work on charitable giving, or work on what different educational interventions are most impactful on people's Jewish identity, or work we've done on the last year about the impact of the pandemic on Jewish people's mental health or on their giving patterns or anything like that. Underneath all of that work, we're using census data to test the credibility and the accuracy and the representativeness of the samples that we're using. So it feeds into all of that stuff. And all you have to do in order to help us do that and help the community is tick that box. That's effectively what you're doing by ticking it. I know some people are concerned about it, but it makes an unbelievable contribution to Jewish life just by ticking the box. So I would really encourage people to do so. You're making a contribution that many people aren't aware of, but it is really quite extraordinary. I've probably gone on too long, so I'll stop.
No, thank you. I mean, that's provided so much clarity personally, and no doubt for all of our viewers. So thank you, Dr. Boyd. Thank you for the vital work that you're doing, and thank you for bringing this important initiative to our attention so that people will do the right thing on the 21st.
21st of March, yeah, that's Census Day.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's interesting, this census, people, I guess, are hesitant, especially identifying themselves as Jews. And
I think some people are reluctant to declare their Jewishness, but I think perhaps now more than ever, we need to stand up proud.
Interesting to listen to Boyd about knowing what is, knowing the numbers of Jews in certain areas to be able to cater to them and to be able to, as a community. So there's pros and cons to it, but it is required by law. And so definitely something that we need to encourage our viewers to proceed with. So there are Jewish heritage sites in Europe and in the Middle East, and Michael Mayle is, works with the Foundation of Jewish Heritage to ensure that these sites are well known. And so Rabbi Friedman speaks to him, and it's really fascinating. We're just going to get a snippet of it, just a preview of just what they talked about. And you can watch the whole interview tomorrow night.
Michael Mayle, welcome to Norrisley TV. Michael is the chief executive of the Foundation for Jewish Heritage.
So there's a body called ICOMOS, the International Council of Monuments and Sites. One of the big things it does is it advises UNESCO on its World Heritage Program. And I became a trustee of ICOMOS, and I chair their development committee. And in getting involved with ICOMOS, I discovered that there was no organization working internationally on the preservation of Jewish heritage. And I found this extraordinary. I assumed that in New York or Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, there would be such a body, particularly given the story of the Jewish people in the 20th century. In that, this is what happened, that the Jews do not live where they had lived. What they left behind was a huge heritage. And this has been a Cinderella subject within the Jewish world for some reason, and I think there are reasons, we can discuss that. It's been a neglected subject. And this is what led to the creation of the foundation in 2015. We mapped all the historic synagogues of Europe. So these red dots
Amazing. Wow.
are the 3,347 historic synagogues that exist in Europe today.
Well, that really does sound interesting. You never know what goes on, behind the scenes and how much work goes into these things. And kol hakavod to these people.
Yeah, for more information, look out for tomorrow night. You'll be able to see all that. We also have a lot of mazel tovs this week. The JVN
Jewish Volunteering Network, the award. So our very own member, David Sagal. I managed to catch him coming out of shul.
Oh, David. Right, I've got you now. Right, we've tracked you down. I know where you're daven. David has just won an award from JVN, Jewish Volunteering Network, for all the tremendous work that he does for the wider community, particularly for Good. And I see you've got the T-shirt.
Very much so, very proud.
Go on, why don't you tell us?
Right, thank you very much. I'm really honoured to have been given the Volunteer Award from JVN. In fact, JVN is very close to my heart because they shidduched me with the charity that I'm working for, which is Goods for Good. And not only did they assist me in finding volunteering work, but I'm now working with Good for Good and actually looking for more volunteers, and JVN have had to help me. Goods for Goods is a charity that has provided hygiene and clothes to Europe and to internationally. We have been taking hygiene stuff and clothes and giving them to the homeless here, to the refugees. The refugees, we've got 400 of them here in Barnet. And as volunteers, we all gain from it because we are doing good work. The charities are doing excellent work with our assistance. They need our people, and the companies that have donated all of the stuff it's been amazing.
So literally everybody's a winner.
Everyone's a winner, all out. So working with Sagal suburb has always been an honour. With of course our own Nefesh, Norris Nefesh.
Nefesh Network, yeah.
Nefesh Network. Exactly. We've been able to do so much, and the community themselves all volunteer very quietly. They go around doing so much volunteering work. So it's amazing. Volunteering makes us feel good and it helps. And it's just amazing how we've just seen so much good in our community.
We're so proud of you, David. I know you don't like the praise, but the reason why we wanted you on was to hear you say what you just said, that when we volunteer, it makes us feel good, it makes them feel good, everybody wins. And I'm hoping people who are watching this will feel inspired by you, David, to get involved in whatever charity they feel they can do. And kol hakavod to you.
So David Sagal, Mazel Tov, and we also have our own Jo Rosenthal, who received an award for her work with Jewish Women's Aid, and I caught her over Zoom. So let's go over to wish her Mazel Tov. Welcome, Jo Rosenthal, to Norrisley TV.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Mazel Tov, you're on your recent award from JVN. So how did you get involved? So you got an award for volunteering with JWA, with the Jewish Women's Aid.
Yeah. Well, my background was 15 years at PricewaterhouseCoopers as an accountant.
Oh.
I'd worked in assurance and accounting technical there. After leaving, I'd volunteered at Jewish Care and also doing some fundraising work for Norwood for 10 years. But I was looking for something to kind of reconnect with my professional training. And it was actually through JVN who put me in touch. I was looking for a trustee role, and JVN had a matching program. And so about 3 years ago, they connected me and I joined the board of JWA.
That's amazing. That's really something special. But what's interesting that you mentioned is that JVN has this matching program that are able to bring the professional, the corporate or whatever field your background is to connect you to an organization. So that's wonderful that you're able to find that. See you with JWA and work on the behind the scenes. I know we had Naomi Dixon, who is the CEO, who spoke about their work and how they've been in an increase over COVID.
Yeah.
How has that impacted your work?
Well, yes. I mean, I think operationally, Naomi and the team have obviously had to adapt very quickly all of our services to be able to reach the women and children that we help remotely. And whilst they were doing that, obviously, as with all charities, we suddenly had cancellation of our main annual fundraising events, the annual dinner, which we relied on for over 25% of our income. So as the treasurer, it was my responsibility to work with Naomi and Julia, our fundraiser, to think about how we were going to plug the gap in our income. Wow. So over the last year, we've worked more closely together, making grant applications, talking to our existing funders, making applications to many COVID emergency funds that were available, and also seeking welfare for the women who, for example, need laptops and equipment for homeschooling. So yeah, everyone in the team has stepped up and worked hard to overcome the challenges that this year, and it's been really rewarding to work together.
That's amazing. You know, it's sometimes we don't many times we don't see the people that work behind the scenes, you know, to make the organization run. And so it's wonderful, like that JVN recognizes those like yourself that work behind the scenes, that allow the operations to continue. So Yasher Koach, Mazel Tov from the show.
Thank you.
You know, it's always important to recognize their dedication and really to be an inspiration to others, to just, you know, have more, be volunteers. And, you know, we can't forget our youth. Project Impact was also nominated and won an award as well. And our own Gila Lieber, youth director, caught a few ambassadors of Project Impact and had a little talk with them. So let's go over to them.
All right. Hey guys, welcome to Norrisley TV. We're so excited to have you. These are some of our volunteers who have been working with Project Impact over the pandemic, and also I think for a few years before that, helping those around us who are in need, who need help, who have been lonely. So thank you so much for all of your time and energy that you've given towards that. So David, why don't you start and tell us a bit about it?
Hi everyone, my name is David and I am an ambassador at Project Impact. My favorite part about being part of Project Impact has been volunteering at Jewish Care old age home. Of course, due to the pandemic, we haven't been able to do anything in person, but we have been able to call them on Zoom and play some games and try and connect and speak to them just to try and brighten up their day. And I've really, really enjoyed that aspect of the volunteering.
Perfect. Lottie, you want to go next?
Sure. Hiya, I'm Lottie and I'm also an ambassador for Project Impact. I've also really enjoyed what we've done this year, especially at the cookathons, which as a baker, I really enjoy. And I think it's a really important thing to be baking for charity and for paramedics and for all the amazing work that they've done this year. What's your favorite thing that you've made? I'd say the Rocky Road was really good. I think my family really enjoyed it, so it was good.
That's good. And which sorts of places has Project Impact been delivering food to?
So the most recent one was to You Donate, We Deliver, I think that was the name of it, which was located across London, and they were delivering to paramedics, to people that needed it. It was just really amazing.
It must be really cool to be part of such a big group of people doing things together.
Yeah.
Yael?
Hi, I'm Yael. I'm an ambassador for Project Impact, and at the moment I am organising Zoom bingo every other week for care homes, which has been really, really nice. And my favourite part about Project Impact is probably the sense of togetherness that we get from volunteering, especially during the pandemic, because obviously it's difficult not being able to see people in person. But we've still kept that sense of unity and community.
That's so nice. I guess that's a really important part of charity. It's about bringing people together. Definitely HGSS would love to recognise and congratulate and thank all of the Project Impact volunteers, and especially the ambassadors, for all the work you do and the kids you engage and the messages that you share and teach as you give to others. And thank you very much, and I hope that you continue to, and I hope that one day it will be in person very soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thanks, Gila.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gila. Thank you.
So it's always wonderful to see youth volunteering, isn't it?
Absolutely, 100%.
And I think it really helps their own mental health and others, to be able to give back to the community. So
I will often get messages from the youth in our shul asking if there are any volunteering opportunities at the shul, and we usually manage to set them up if the time works out, either with Nefesh or other organizations. And I find it so encouraging. It's music to my ears when a kid who we've not seen in shul for many months because there's no youth service, they still want to be involved. I don't know if it's their parents pushing them, but I don't need to know that. But it's amazing. And people should know that is happening.
Yes.
And there are opportunities if you would like to get involved.
Absolutely. It's always wonderful. So talking about youth, we have a Mazel Tov, another Bat Mitzvah. It's so exciting that the Bat Mitzvahs are going ahead now, and Bar Mitzvahs as well. And thank God the shul's open, and so they can come in and celebrate. And so last week we had a Jasmine Toffel. And so I caught up with the Toffels and talked to them about Jasmine's special weekend celebration. So let's go over to the Toffels. So welcome, Toffel Family, to NLTV TV. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. It's really it's so special to see you all here. And we're here today to say Mazel Tov to Jasmine, who recently celebrated her Bat Mitzvah. How do you guys feel?
Mazel Tov, Jasmine.
Did you guys have a good time?
Yeah. We did.
So good.
Did you have a good rest?
Yeah.
It was exhausting, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, funnily enough, it was.
Yeah, although you celebrated on Zoom, but a beautiful Havdalah service, and you did an amazing Dvar Torah.
Thank you.
Did you have a good time?
Yeah, I did.
What was the best part of the weekend?
I like doing my Dvar Torah, and I like listening to my family, what they had to say, when they got to speak. Yeah, and lots of people dropped off chocolates and stuff, which was.
Oh, that's great. And the international family, right, from all over the world came and did greetings. That was really special.
They were all surprises. She didn't know about any of them.
Oh, really? So every time someone came on, it was like, ah.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. So let's just introduce the viewers to your family. We'll go through. So we have Ali.
Hi.
Hi. And Jasmine, the bat mitzvah girl.
Hi.
Elliot.
Elliot.
Oh, Chloe.
Chloe.
So Chloe, how old are you, Chloe?
I'm 15.
You're 15. So are you in year 11? 10?
In year 10.
You're 10, right. So you're almost almost GCSEs. And
I'm Natalia and I'm 16.
16.
I'm Rafi and I'm 10. And I'm in year 12.
Year 12.
I'm in year 5.
Excellent. And you're all at Emmanuel?
Yeah.
The girls are.
The girls are, right. Rafi, where do you go to school?
The academy school.
Awesome. Right. What was special that you did over the weekend for Jasmine?
I think like going to shul was really special, like being with her and like when she got her dressed and like
it was
us
very
all being together.
gorgeous.
It was really sweet because we also hadn't been to shul since like Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah, so that was really sweet.
Yeah. It was very intimate, just the family there, and it was really special.
I think it's nice to see their grandfathers be called up in shul as well.
Right.
Considering what had gone on, it was nice that they sort of got to shul and been called up and done a mitzvah, which they hadn't done they haven't been to shul since February last year.
My mum and dad came over because we've been seeing my mum and dad all the way through, and Elliot's mum and dad. And my mum said to me, it was so great to be in shul again, because they're not members of our shul, they're members of South Hampstead, but they go to shul regularly, usually, not in the last year. And she's like, it was so great to be in shul, the sense of community spirit, even though it was so depleted, it was so special. So because I said to her, was it awful for you that the time you came back shul, you're in a mask, you're not sitting next to me, la 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 la, and she was like, no, it was great.
That's great to hear. So Jasmine, you did something special for your bat mitzvah, for your mitzvah project, right? You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. I tie-dyed clothes that people like gave to me. If they had like a plain piece of clothing like white, they'd like drop it off, or we go and collect it, and they tell me what colors they wanted and what like style, and I tie-dye it for them, and then I like send it them in like a gift bag and with like a note and stuff. And I raised money for Sydney Korab House, and I raised £800.
Wow. And that's part of Jewish Care, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Very close to your heart, Ali.
It is.
And we had our garden full up with hanging garments drying with different tie-dyes all over the garden.
And a big mess?
Yeah.
Yeah, huge mess.
It's quite messy, yeah.
It is. Did the girls, did you guys help? And Rafi?
Yeah, we did.
A little bit. From time to time. But it went on for quite a few months.
At the beginning, we helped out because obviously we were in the middle of quarantine, and then Jasmine kind of kept it going, and then we were like.
It was good because the weather was good, so everything got dried really quickly in the garden.
That's great. Wow.
Yeah, she was offering like 3 or 4 different styles. It was bursts, or it was, tell me, Jazz, what was it?
Like swirls.
Stuff like that.
And it was hoodies, it was trousers, it was t-shirts, there was lots of different products.
Right. So
the youngest recipient was maybe 5, and the oldest was maybe 80. She ordered 2.
So that's great. So you take after your dad, who's in the women's fashion, is that it?
Yeah.
I'm not sure about take after me, but maybe there's some influence.
Some influence, right? So do you sell tie-dye fashion?
I have done when it's fashion.
It's coming back in, no?
I took an order today actually on tie-dye.
Did you?
Really?
Thank you, Jasmine, to help you.
I'm not sure, but I think it'll take a long time to do 12,000, but we'll try.
Tie-dye what? Like they have like dresses? Like what is it?
Yeah, dresses.
Really? So it's coming back, like it's a thing.
Yeah,
so it's all with Jasmine. You see, you started a trend, Jasmine. They heard about your tie-dye, and now it's
all over Europe.
All over Europe, you're walking down the catwalk.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You should continue to use your creativity for the good. Like your Hebrew name is Gavriela Tova. So you take your Jasmine Bell and uplift it to make something beautiful and good. So yasher koach on that, and may you continue to do that for your bat mitzvah on your continued journey. Well, wonderful. Thank you very much for joining us, and may we continue to have simchas and only good things.
Thank you.
Amen. Amen.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
That was very nice. Mazel tov, Ali and Elliot and Jasmine, all the family. That was really nice, and it should only share simchas with all of us. Amen.
Amen.
And we have our regular feature now, Lockdown Literature, with our very own Martin Kaye. He always gets a mention, but I think he likes that.
Yes. So, unfortunately, the books that we chose were not any of the winners for the Wingate.
Yeah.
So they didn't win, and none of them won. But they were still very interesting to discuss and read. And so tonight, we speak with Aviva. Aviva joined the conversation, Aviva Kaufmann, with Martin and myself, and we discuss, nobody will tell you this but me. Let's go over to the discussion.
So good evening, everyone. Tonight we are discussing a book titled No One Will Tell You This But Me by Bess Kalb. And I'm joined this evening by Rabbanit Batya Friedman and Aviva Kaufmann. The book. So I thought this book is nothing more than eulogy. It's something you would hear people recite either at a lavoya or a shiva. Although it's written from the perspective of a granddaughter extolling the virtues of her grandmother and skipping out a generation. So I'm not sure if her mother was standing in the shiva of Mother lavoya, she'd be too happy to hear the granddaughter extolling the virtues of a wonderful grandmother she had, and never referring to her mother once. I looked hard for the Jewishness, especially as the Wingate Prize criteria is a book that translates the idea of Jewishness to the general reader. Well, if eating shrimp, bacon, lobster, and marrying the first wasp man that comes along meets the judge's idea of Jewishness, heaven help us all.
Yeah. How do you feel that you got that off your chest?
I feel great.
Now we can discuss the book.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, well, it's this. The writer is called Bess Kalb, and she saved every voicemail from her grandmother, who was called Bobby Bell, that she ever left her. And they have this very, very strong bond, which is in stark contrast to the bond between her and her mother, and also with the grandmother and the mother, so the generation in between. At the beginning of the book, Bobby's talking from the grave, and through she talks about her life, and it's through these voicemail messages interspersed with just prose and dialogue.
It's a very different. It's a very unique way of writing a story. I mean, it was very different. It was different. It was like a poetic way to remember, in your words, Martin, a eulogy, right? And you had to get your head wrapped around it. But once you had that, you were able to go with it.
Yeah, and in fact, I felt the way that it was written was almost like a theatre. I am really missing theatre at the moment. And when I read it, I could hear all the people, the grandmother speaking, the daughter speaking. And for me, it was a bit of a kind of almost like a bit of relief, because I felt like I was at a listening or watching a
theatrical event. And
I'm wondering whether it will actually be made into theatre. You could really hear. And Martin, I do agree, it upset me greatly, that after all this whole story of her, fleeing Belarus and coming, that, that the granddaughter does end up not marrying within the faith. And, that really is, that of course that upset me. And yes, definitely eating the shrimp. Unfortunately, that has been the Jewish story for a lot of families. That is the reality.
Especially,
and you can't deny it.
Right, absolutely. It's very interesting hearing your responses, because, as an American and recognizing that maybe it's more apparent there than in the UK, that's the norm, unfortunately, as an average American, whether they went through the programs, the Holocaust. Many Americans have, Jewish Americans have intermarried, and so it's, for me, that wasn't the shocking bit, for better or for worse. What was touching to me was the relationship between the grandmother and mothers and daughter, and grandmother and the granddaughter, right? And I think this is a very feminine perspective, Martin. So I don't know if you were able to tune into this. I mean, this is something very unique. Unfortunately, I lived always away from my grandmother, although I did go summers to visit. My paternal grandmother passed away when I was quite young, but my maternal one was I went as a teenager. We had a great connection, and it was really something special. And I see now my daughter having that relationship with my mother is really something special, and with my mother-in-law as well, I should mention. It's something very unique.
I had a very, my grandmother was not at all American, was, very English. We hails back in the generation Spanish and Portuguese, but very kind of Anglo-Jewish. But still, there was so much that resonated with me with that mother-grandmother granddaughter relation. A number of years ago, when I lived in New York, I heard Dr. Ruth Westheimer talking about, she'd written a book about the significant other, and the importance of that significant other. It doesn't have to be a grandparent, and that relationship being so very serving something that a parent relationship doesn't. And I do think, this book is about the relationship with the grandmother, granddaughter. It is. And, the mother was, didn't seem to have been such a great relationship, but the book wasn't about the mother-daughter-daughter-mother relationship. It was about the grandmother-granddaughter relationship.
It was beautiful to see the relationship, whether we agreed with their philosophy or their way of life is one thing, but the mother, you can't take away that granddaughter and grandmother relationship that they have, and it's something special.
And I wouldn't want to.
I think it is a girly book.
It's very female oriented, absolutely. It's actually very apropos that we chose this book for this week, because tonight is March 8th is the International Women's Day. So being a feminine book, it's very,
Then I'd better hide my face in shame. Well, that's why I chose it.
The question is, what is unique about the Jewish Bubby relationship? I think that's really the question, especially like you say, what is she passing on, the kugel and the chicken soup? What is it it's not even that.
No, right? It's not. I think Americans or even English people, but I mean it's published in England as well, might think this is a great book because this, to non-Jews, is how we Jews are. We're full of neuroses, carrying pogroms on our shoulders, and therefore this is interesting.
So much of this story is familiar, and yet it's not. It's familiar because I had that relationship with my grandmother, and I think she tells family stories and secrets. And this is a family of strong women and loving men. And actually, for me, that's something I can relate to. So, Jewish aside or whatever, but, I really related to that.
It was interesting. There were a couple of occasions, particularly the birth, when the author put in two versions.
Well, yes, yeah.
So it was a version that she knew her mother would tell. And it's a version that her grandmother would tell.
Yeah.
But which leaves one wondering which is the true version.
Well, that's it. Which is the true version? What is history? History to things like that, family history is to a perception. And in fact, that brings me to just a very short little paragraph that I felt really kind of summed up the book. And it's when the grandmother's mother is talking about Then she began the story of the escape, of how she'd escaped. In the fog of my fever and the confusion and discomfort and pain, I envisioned it so clearly. I thought of it as my story. And when I told it to your mother, she'd think of it as her story. And when she told it to you, you'd think of it as your story. It's her story, Bessie, but it belongs to us. When she stepped off the boat, we all became possible. And that whole passing down all these stories, these mother stories, these are the stories, and every family has stories.
But maybe I'm judging this book under the criteria of the Wingate Prize rather than on my feminine side. So because
you know if Martin likes a book or not. If he's wearing a tie, then you know he's pro the book. when he took off no tie, you know he's not a fan. He's going to be critique of it.
Okay, I thought what was touching was the grandmother's instruction to the granddaughter that on the third day of Shiva, she would go to this place where they always had tea and take out a photograph of her grandmother, and just sit there and order the tea and just sit there by herself. I thought actually that was a very nice idea. I think maybe I'll start writing things like that down.
See, you're getting in touch with your feminine side now, Martin.
Oh, absolutely, yes, yes. It's never far away, Batya. You know?
Yeah, that's right. So, I think overall, we can say that it was obviously a very easy read. There was a
Shabbos afternoon.
It was a quick read. It was meaningful, in a sense where you have the relationship, but there were also stuff that we weren't comfortable with. But overall, Martin, would you recommend? Nobody will tell you this but me?
Well, as a man, I'll defer to my two female co-presenters and let our members decide for themselves.
Well, I mean, I definitely would recommend it, but with knowing that you might be.
It's a very quick read.
Not Jewish as we know it.
I said it won't take up too much of your life during lockdown. It's an afternoon read, tip top, because the pages aren't full. It's a shame because I'm thinking back when I first started reading it and the jokes she made about I think maybe the uncle or the husband putting too much earth with too much vigor on top of her coffin. And I thought, well, maybe this is a good start, but then it just went downhill from then.
Oh no, I did
enjoy thumbs down for Martin. This is your first book that you don't recommend, right? On lockdown literature.
And I got to read it.
Well, you two seem to have had a whale of a time. Don't worry about me.
I did enjoy it.
So yeah, Martin was not happy with that book. It was a little feminine, but I guess it was very apropos, as we mentioned. It is International Women's Day, so there you go again. And but next week we have another book that he is going to recommend, and he's in discussion with our very own Gail Kravitz.
Oh, she's
quite interesting. Yeah, so we'll look at that. Thank you very much for joining us. We have a couple events coming up this week. So tomorrow night you can catch the rest of the interview with Michael Mayle. Wednesday, Rabbi Freeman speaks with Rabbi Jonathan Gross about artificial intelligence. Wow. He wrote a book about that, so that should be interesting. And then Thursday night, we have a program that we started. It started actually last week. It's a 3-part series, but you can definitely join in. And it's been recorded. It's Stand With Us. It's really talks about the Arab-Israeli conflict. Very balanced approach, gives both sides of the story, and it's very fascinating with Charlie with Stand With Us. And really, it's £20 for just the 3 sessions, and really a great thing to join.
Is it too late to join?
Thursday at 8 o'clock. What?
If we missed the first one, is it too late to join?
No, you can still join, and the recording is available, so we can give you the first recording.
Oh, brilliant.
She goes through the history and then talks to you about the issues, the issues on both sides. So it's really fascinating talk, and it's very interesting because she's very animated. It's great.
Okay. Now then, next week will be the last Norris Lee TV. Sorry. Until after Pesach, but don't worry because we've got a whole line of stuff coming up the week of Pesach, so do look out for details to follow.
Monday night, we start with our Inspirational Women series for Rosh Chodesh, and I speak with Daisy Aboudi. We go through the different heritages of Pesach in the Middle East. So very interesting. It should be interesting talk. So look out for that right after the TV.
Hey, thank you for joining and have a very good night.
Wonderful week.